Hey guys, today is going to be another work in progress video for my HGUC Hy-Gogg. So what I'm going to be going over in this video is just kind of the progress of the actual physical modification to the kit, which is not really a whole lot, but I'll just kind of show this to you. What I've done here is kind of separate this into like before and after stages so I can show you. I'm going to show you how I did it, but it's not really all that difficult. So first thing I just want to show you is just kind of a couple of examples here. So as you can see, this one is the original shoulder piece, shoulder armor part, and you can see it has quite a bit of work to be done of sanding. Just either put some glue on the seam line there. Then it has these three raised details there, and then these holes in here. What I'm going to do, or what I've done here on this side, you can see I've filled in the holes with putty. Just put some putty on there, let it dry about 24 hours, and then sanded that smooth, sanded the seam line, and also got rid of those three line details there. So it's just going to be very plain here, just with the two little vents on there, and that is going to be it for all the detail on the shoulder piece. And that is pretty much what I've done here for the majority of these parts that needed seam line removal like this. For example, here is the forearm part. This one as well, it has some raised details on there, got rid of that. On the underside, had a raised sort of panel section there, these three raised details there, and then little bits there. Just got rid of all of that, just made it all nice and smooth there. So it just looks nice and simple, just got a little bit of details on that part there, and then the tubing on the side. And then for the hip piece as well, all I've done is just gotten rid of the seam line on that. Nothing really too exciting. For the lower leg, I've gotten rid of the fin on the back of the leg on both of these. And then here on the side where we have the 6 holes there, what I've done is I've filled the top 2 and drilled out the bottom 4. Now, actually the reason why I had to fill the top 2 is I didn't think about this before. I already glued them together and everything. Could pull them apart, saw them apart again, but you see inside of here, the back of these two, it's not just empty behind there. There's a part there, and it would have required a little bit more. I'd have to cut that a little bit, because what I want to do is, remember, I want to use a piece of wire mesh to slide inside of there. So I'd have to cut that a little bit. Here you can see I did have to cut this part as well. So this flat piece was going straight all the way across there. Had to cut out a little bit so that there would be some space, so when I want to put the wire mesh piece in behind there, I have some room to do that. It would have been just a little bit too hard, so I figured it's okay. Just cover those up, and we'll just have just the 4 holes on there. That's fine. Lazy, sort of, but you know, it's not a big loss. It's, you know, what's the difference, right? And then here on the head, I want to leave these details here on the top part of the head. Then there was another raised detail here, and I thought it looked a little bit weird next to that seam line. I'm going to leave this seam here. Pretty sure at the moment, I could change my mind, but I'm not sure. At the moment, I'm pretty sure I'm going to leave that. But then that raised detail, I thought it's not in line with that, so it's not going to look really, it doesn't really look quite weird. So I got rid of that and just made it just smooth there. And then here, this edge, this seam line, I'm definitely not going to get rid of this one here on the front. So what I did is I just sanded the edge just like at an angle just a little bit to make this seam line here very pronounced, so that it definitely looks like it's definitely supposed to be an armor seam there. And the seam that I am going to get rid of is this one here on the side, as I said before. Here on the underside too, again, got rid of this one here, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these other 2 raised line details there. On the back, I guess I can show you this too. I talked about this in the live stream, if you guys caught that. What I did was basically cut this is the section that goes up inside of here. And you're supposed to clamp these 2 parts, sandwich them around this. What I've done is I just cut these 2 pegs on the front, cut these 1, 2, 3, 4 pegs on the back, left this one and just cut the top part out of it. That's where the clear pink piece goes inside of there. So now I'm able to glue this together and get rid of that seam line. Then when I'm done, slide this up inside of there like so. Now the reason I haven't glued this together yet is because I want to test this with the LED first. So if you guys remember, again, from the work in progress before, I said I'm going to put an LED in here. I haven't got that yet. So once I get that LED, hopefully it's going to be coming in the mail with sometime this coming week. Set that in here, do some work of putting that in here. I'll probably do another work in progress video for that, maybe just specifically, since it's a little bit more of a thing. And then work on testing this inside there, and then when I'm sure it's all going to work out really well, get rid of that. As you can see, this actually fits in there really well, and I kind of have to really pull it to get it out again. So even though I got rid of those pegs, which are kind of used to sandwich that part, it actually works really well. And then here on the waist section, there was a little bit of a seam here on this part, so I just got rid of that there on the sides of there. There's a little bit more glue on there. I actually had a part, there's a tiny little hole there, which I need to put a little bit of putty on that. Then here on the front, it had these two circle parts. I didn't really like it too much, so actually what I did is just cut off one circle part, and I like it a lot better now with just the one. And then there's some space here. We'll probably put some just decal on there or something. Anyway, it looks better with just the one raised circle part there. I also went around just with my knife and just sort of made the edge of this just a little bit more defined around there. That is another thing I also forgot to point out. Here on the head, this line going around the edge here, you can see, I don't know how different it's going to look, but it definitely is different here. This one I haven't touched at all. This one I went in with a chisel and just made the line a little bit more defined. Here I've got, this is a 0.03 millimeter. I'm not sure how well you can see that with the glare. 0.03 millimeter. This is just from a Stylex. It's just another brand chisel here. And I just made this line a little bit more defined so that here in the back it's an actual line between the parts. So to make sure that this and this look the same, I just made this a little bit deeper, and so this is really going to look like a very pronounced panel line going all the way around the top of the head there. So it really looks like this top piece is its own separate piece. So that is really pretty much it. Now the other thing that I am going to be working on now is on the backpack. What I decided to do with the jetpack here is, as I mentioned before, one of the ideas I had was to cut these off. I am going to do that. I'm going to cut off these from the middle section and use these fuel tanks. And I'm going to set these rather than these thruster bells, which should go in there. I'm going to set these in here so you can see they're like the perfect size. So they're going to be like sticking out the back, and then these have their thruster bell piece on there. So just as you can see, they're going to be just sticking out the back like that, and one on each side. And I think I'm going to extend these a little bit too, so maybe extend them. I'm going to cut it here. And I think I'm going to get rid of this raised detail. I'm going to keep this sunken detail in there, and at the top that's going to be hidden inside there. But get rid of this, and I want to extend these maybe about 4 millimeters. So I have 2 millimeter thick plot plate, 2 layers of that in here, and extend these out a little bit to just have these fuel tanks out the back. Now, as for these, I have decided, thank you guys for all the feedback of you guys telling me what you thought of the idea of putting these up inside the shoulder armor. The answers were overwhelmingly that you guys thought it did look good. So I'm going to do that, and just again, as you can see, it actually fits very nicely up inside of there like so, and it's actually secure and it's going to stay in there. So if you wanted to do something like this, you could do that actually without any modification at all. And it is supposed to fit in there, because if you remember from like the cruising mode, it's supposed to kind of fit around there like that, but I'm going to make it fit just a little bit more inside of there like so. The problem with this now here is that it does limit the articulation a little bit. So with that all the way in there, you can't put the shoulder armor up. I want to be able to put it up a little bit more. So the easy way to fix that is just going to be cutting off some of the orange part there at the top. So that'll be easy to just cut some of that off. The other problem for me is this corner of this here. I don't really like how this looks. How just like this 90-degree angled part there, and then this part. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this a little bit higher up, so maybe around here or something. Cut that. And with the arm coming out here, the arm can come straight down here, but this is also going to limit the range of movement for the arm. So cut out this section. So what I'll probably do is like cut it here, and then maybe to there, and then just straight across here, something like that. So I've got to draw it out. I'll sketch it out on the part. It's going to be just pretty simple, if I can get this apart. And then it'll just be cutting and sanding that and working on that. Now I can't get this out. There we go. So with that, let's get to work. The last thing is I'm thinking about adding this antenna here on the back, just out the back like that. I'll just have to modify this just a little bit so it'll fit in there nicely. Alternatively, I've been looking at my Matt K modeling book here, again for more ideas. And if you look at this picture here of the fireball, I have gone with the idea to make this into, to have the fuel tanks, these tanks up under the shoulder armor to be like, what would it be, like fuel for flamethrowers. So basically the hands are going to be flamethrowers on this kit, so that will be kind of the thing that'll be going on with this. Just another reminder to you guys, or not reminder, but just a mention that this is no longer going to be an aquatic type mobile suit. It's going to be a land type mobile suit with flamethrower hands. So, but these Matt K kits have this thing here on the top. I'm not totally sure what that's supposed to be, but I'm guessing something for radar. If I'm sure one of you guys know, so please let me know if you do. But I believe that's probably for radar. I don't know, but I'm thinking about adding this to this kind of thing to the back of my kit, something like that. So I don't know. This book has been very, very helpful in thinking about some ideas. I do also want to maybe add some extra tubing somewhere, some piping somewhere, but I just really haven't figured out like a really good place to do it. There's plenty of places that I could, but it just doesn't really look right. Every time I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking, yeah, it just doesn't really look right. So I don't want to force it. If I don't think it looks right, then I'm not going to force it, and I'm just going to not do it. But I'll think about it more, and if I do come up with any ideas, then we'll see how it goes. So let's get to work. First thing I'm going to do, take my pin vise here, and not sure what millimeter this is, but anyway, it doesn't really matter too much. And I'm just going to drill out these holes here. So as you can see, that drill bit happens to be just the right size to fit those holes there, so clean those out just a little bit more. Now the problem, as I said, is that we have this part inside here that needs to be cut away a little bit from that hole. So what I did before was just use my knife. So I'm going to drill out this just a bit more. And basically just start cutting away at this just a little bit with my knife. With the tools that I have, I can't think of any other better way to cut out this part other than just by using my knife. So it's crude, but unfortunately I can't think of any other better way to do it. So this is just going to have to work. So there you go, just a section, a little bit of that is cut out. That shouldn't, you know, that part is going to be a little bit loose there now, but it shouldn't really bother the strength of just this polycap, because that polycap is really just held in there by this part and this part and that part. I didn't damage the integrity of that part at all, so this part here on the top is basically just to hold the polycap straight so it doesn't turn. But I really don't think that's going to matter at all. So not really a big deal. Again, I'll do the mesh a little bit later. But here I'll just show you. For the putty, I've just got Tamiya putty basic type. Any putty I think is going to work For this, polyester putty might even work a little bit better because we're actually going to be filling in a little bit larger section. I think for filling in such a large bit, polyester putty might work better than this. This is kind of best for like really small things, like just filling in little bits of seam lines and things like that. So I'm just using a toothpick to apply this, just taking a little glob there, what looks like a good amount to fill that hole, making sure it's pressed down into the hole, and that's pretty much it. There we go. Sloppy but generous. I want to make sure that there's no that it doesn't sink down into there a little bit. Then I'll have to apply more putty again later. So again, that's that. While we're here with the putty, let me just drop a little bit on this little hole here. Let's see if we can work just a little bit into that hole. Then, yeah, we'll just have to sand that later. On this one, I want to wait to sand everything first and then apply this on here last. So we'll come back to the putty again a little bit later. So what I did to remove the area of raised detail on here that I wanted to get rid of is first just cut away at it a little bit with a knife. So I want to make sure not to cut too deep into the part, or I want to make sure not to cut into the part at all, but I can cut here just to make it less work for the filing and or sanding, whatever you're going to do. So just cutting off some of this part with a knife, again crude but quick, and will work just fine with controlled hands. So just cutting off some of this first. Now that's low enough, then I can just go in there with some sandpaper. I'm using 400 grit first. That'll be harsh to kind of work away at this, but not too harsh to, you know, do anything too bad. There we go. As you can see, it's pretty much all gone. Now this 400 grit sandpaper is a little bit harsh again, so just to make it more nice and smooth again, I'll switch to 800, which isn't much smoother. You could even go finer, 1000 or 1200, but 800 I think will be fine for my purposes for this. Just want to smooth that out a little bit, and there we go. Nice and smooth, and that detail is totally gone. You can see a little bit of a shadow of it there, but I think that is gone enough. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to repeat that and also sand this seam line. And there we go. Nice, clean, no more details there, and I've gotten rid of the seam line. So what we can do now is put the putty in the holes there. Again, same thing as before. I'm just going to use a toothpick and take some putty and just basically spread it over this whole section here, and make sure I kind of press down in the holes to make sure that there is putty filling in the holes. And there we go. Again, crude, but I'd rather have a little bit too much on there and just have just a little bit more wasted than not having enough and then having to redo it again. So just gonna put that aside with the other one, give that a good 24 hours to dry, and the next thing I want to work on now is this part here, sawing this. Now I've got this saw, which is from, where did I put it? This is a Hasegawa Tri-Tool modeling saw set TP3. And basically they're just nice micro saws there. Let's see, very sharp. So what I'm going to do is just basically saw this here slowly and carefully until this part is off. And there we go. It's off. Now as you can see, I will need to do a little bit of filling there as well. So not sure what's going to be the best thing I want to use for that. Probably just some polyester putty, I think. But let's see. The next thing I need to do is I need to cut this here to extend it. So what I'm going to use for that, I'm going to need to get out my clamp here. And what I mean by clamp is a vise. This is also from Stylex, the DE127 micro vise. It's hard to see that. But again, just going to use my saw here and saw this in this section here. Should be as straight as possible. You could be more kind of scientific in your cut. Alright, now after the sawing was finished, I realized that there was actually a peg right under where I was sawing. So we're not actually going to need that though, so I'm just going to sort of cut that out and away from where we're at, because at this point it's just going to be in the way. Here and here and here. Right, so I've got my top half, which stays together fine because there is one more peg inside there. The bottom half now does not stay together, but I'll just put some glue on that and that'll be fine. But what I want to do is clean this up first a little bit. Got some plot plate here, 2mm thick, very thick one, and I've got a pencil. Just going to draw how much I need here. Oh, I said I wanted to extend it 4mm, I think, so just going to cut a couple pieces of this and then just basically stack it. So if you saw me work on the Hy-Gogg last year, just going to basically do the exact same process that I did for extending the limbs of that. Sand the sides of the plot plate just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more something to hold on to. That glue. Like so. Extra thin Tamiya cement. Stack it and press it. Now we've got 4mm. Then for this, just to make sure this is flat, I want to go at it just for a second with a sanding stick. Then I can just apply some glue onto here, then onto here. So there you go, there's the top part and the bottom part glued together now. Need to wait for this glue to dry a little bit. I can see the cut was a little bit uneven there, so just need to go over the top of this with a sanding stick again once this glue is dry and that's nice and secure. Once that's done, I can stick that onto the bottom there. Again, I will have to line this up a little bit. But then my tank will be a little bit longer, so that'll be good. Then it'll basically just be like just cutting this away and sanding and sanding and sanding and puttying to fill in that, and then I'm going to cut away this part, this detail here. This one, just cut that down, and there's a little bit of a gap there, so we'll need to probably put a little bit of putty in that side as well. And then repeat for the other side, and then I'll have my fuel tanks for the back. So that's probably going to be it for this work in progress. I'm also going to go ahead and start cutting away at this piece too. I'll show you more about that and probably the completed fuel tanks in the next work in progress, and then maybe we'll start doing some priming at that time too. So stay tuned for that in the future. Thanks guys for watching. If you have any other questions and comments about this or suggestions, please definitely let me know. I'm no expert, so again, this is all just kind of the crude way that I'm going about doing this. I'm sure you guys have some suggestions to help me find some better and different ways to do this stuff, so I appreciate it, and thanks. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.